maximize your reference tools. This is podcast number 109. It's at the basic level and requires no knowledge of Accordance Bible software or Hebrew or Greek. Old habits die hard. That's true in biblical studies too. Most of us formed our study habits while using books. Then we kept those old habits when we switched to Bible software, even when there were better ways to do things. Nowhere is this more evident than in the way we use reference tools. It takes money to build a professional library, so most of us feel fortunate to own a single copy of a resource. It used to be, if we needed access to more than one page in it, or in our Bible, we used bookmarks or our fingers to mark each place. Bible software has eliminated that issue, but old habits die hard. Here's some tips to help you get the most out of every reference tool you own in Accordance. Here are the basic Accordance principles. A reference tool can be displayed in two ways, in a parallel pane to the main search text and in its own independent tool tab or zone. Each display option has its own advantages. Resources can appear multiple times in the same workspace. Multiple workspaces can use the same resources simultaneously, and there's more than one way to search a resource. Reference tools can be opened in a parallel pane with our search text, which is probably the most common method. To do so, we use the Add Parallel icon at the top right-hand corner of the search text. Navigation is automatically tied to the search text. It scrolls with it, whether we're reading a book verse by verse or looking through the hits of a search. The downside is that the supplementary material, things like book introductions, articles, maps, and so on, don't appear beside the verses. That confuses a lot of people who are new to Accordance. The solution is to open the tool directly from the library, the File menu, or just about any way except with the Add Parallel button. This will place it in its own independent tab or zone. Now once it's open, we can navigate through it with a scroll bar, by opening and using the browser, or by searching any one of its fields. In a tool window, all the material in a tool is available, not just the verse-by-verse commentary. The tool is also completely independent of the search text, unless we deliberately tie them together. The very best solution is to open two instances of the reference tool. One is a parallel pane, and one in its own tab or zone. Notice that the parallel pane opens directly to the verse-by-verse commentary. The tool zone gives us easy access to all the introductory articles that are not tied to specific verses. In a resource like the original Expositor's Bible Commentary, that's a lot of high-quality reference material. Here's another example, this time using William Barclay's new Daily Study Bible. A great amount of the information in it is verse by verse, but there's still a lot of information on each book only visible through the browser in a tool tab. Now let's take a look at this live, in Accordance. I suspect most of us usually open our reference tools in a parallel pane, like this. After all, the commentary will scroll with the text. That's true even once we search for a word, as the commentary will automatically sync with the top verse in the search pane. That's an incredible improvement over printed books. Unfortunately, a lot of information appears to be missing in this view, as it's the verse-by-verse commentary that initially appears. That fact can confuse people who are new to Accordance. However, if we go to the beginning of a book and then scroll backwards through the commentary, we can see the introductory information is actually here, it's just hidden. That's true for commentaries that have information in the back, too, if we know to look for it. This kind of information is much easier to find if we open a reference tool in its own tool tab or zone. There are lots of ways to do this. Here are 3 different ones. We can open it directly from the library, use the plus button in any zone, even use the New menu under File. Notice that all of these methods display the resource in the same way, in its own independent tab or zone. By the way, it's very easy to transform a tab to a zone, and vice versa. We just have to click and drag it into place. A tool tab has a browser button in the upper left-hand corner. We just click it to open the table of contents. and then click anywhere within it to jump to that section. See these little disclosure triangles? We click on them to show or hide subsections of the tool. The ideal is to have several different copies of a reference tool open at the same time. The tool pane can be opened, for instance, to the introductory material for a book, while the parallel pane has the verse-by-verse commentary. We can also search a reference tool directly. Let's open another instance to do that. Every reference tool in Accordance has multiple search fields. For example, we can use the English Content field to search for information on the word disciple. Here there are 457 occurrences. We can also search the Scripture field for all 33 different places in this entire commentary that happen to reference Matthew 5. Accordance has made Bible study easier than ever, but it does mean developing some new habits. We want everyone to get the most out of every resource they've purchased in Accordance. That includes reference tools. Just remember, you can open as many copies as you'd like, however you'd like. You'll do just fine. This has been Dr. J for Accordance Bible Software. Thank you for watching this episode of Lighting the Lamp.